Welcome to the I Love Buffalo podcast. Part of the I Love Buffalo network with your host, Josh Cattry.
Hello there, good neighbors. Welcome to the I Love Buffalo podcast. I am your host, Josh Cattry. Today on the podcast, one of the most amazing feats in sports history happens to a family right here in Buffalo. Let's start a business together. Brandon Beane makes some moves. The Sabres smacked down a gutsy win. The Rockin' Gem Show was rockin' and rollin'. And help us find Blueberry, the missing bird. All this and more on this week's episode of the I Love Buffalo podcast.
No one from the outside's ever gonna tell us that we ain't meant to be. No one from the outside's ever gonna decide anything for you and me.
That right there was Uncle Ben's Remedy from Buffalo. They kind of have that like outlaw country sound to them, and they're known for their energetic performances and unique blend of country, rock, and traditional music. So their next upcoming show is Friday, April 25th. That is at the Kaz. I love that venue. There's a lot of venues in Buffalo I love, but that one's new and it's kind of like unique in itself. So definitely recommend checking that out. Uncle Ben's Remedy. Give them a like and follow on social media. Look, we have bands in Western New York that can become great. And the first step is making local fans. So let's make local fans out of some of these bands that we're playing here. There's a bunch of good music. Let's keep pushing them up. And as they get pushed up, they'll come back to Buffalo and we can create this huge, vibrant music scene right here in Buffalo. In our first segment here, this is going to be a very special segment because it's something amazing that happened that I was able to witness with my own eyes. And it's very similar to something I read about maybe 10 or 15 years ago, about a story of three sisters named the Polgar sisters, Polgar. They're a famous set of three sisters who are arguably the best three female chess players of all time. And this story, it really starts with their father. And their father's name was Laszlo. And he had this idea that he believed that children could be raised in a system in a way to be great, to achieve greatness. His idea was so strong and it flew in the face of everyone else. Everyone was like, no, not all kids can be great or whatever. And his idea was that, yeah, all kids for the most part can be great at something. And the systems that they are grown up in that are around them really determine if they can become great. And he was a big believer in music. He loved music and had contemplated like teaching his kids to be amazing at guitar. But that is always going to be someone's opinion. It's really hard to even ask who's the best guitarist of all time. It is not something that is just clear because everyone's opinion is either subjective or objective and you don't get to the truth there. So he wanted something that was very clear. And so he chose chess. And he wasn't an expert in chess or anything like that. He did know how to play, but he wasn't like an expert or anything. So what he does is he has this idea that he wants to raise his kids to be awesome at chess and prove that it can be done. But he doesn't have any game with the women, right? He's got no game with the women. So he writes letters just to random women like pen pals saying, this is what I want to do. I want to raise some kids like this. And most of the ladies are like, no, I'm all set with that. That's weird, whatever. But one lady, she decides that that sounds like an interesting idea. And she decides to marry him. Her name was Clara. So Clara and Laszlo, they get married and they have their first child, Susan. So Susan's born in April of 1969. And right away, even as a baby, she was given chess pieces as toys. They taught her chess from a super early age. They found the best coaches they could find to teach her chess. At the age of 4, she wins the Budapest Girls Under 11 Championship with a perfect 10-0 score. By the age of 12, she was the world Under 16 Girls Champion. At the age of 15, became the world's top-rated female chess player. And at the age of 22, she earned the title of Grandmaster, becoming the first female to do so in conventional competition ever. But if that wasn't enough, they had a second daughter, and her name is Sophia. So Sophia Polgar, she was born November 2nd, 1974, and she has a list of accomplishments of her own. Gold medal at the World Championships. She won at the Madrid tournament. She's like known as one of the best chess players of all time. Breaks her sister's records. Goes on to push the limits of female chess. So now the family has two amazing girls. Two children that are raised to be amazing at chess. And then finally, they have their final daughter named Judith. And Judith Polgar is widely recognized as one of the greatest chess players in history, period, of any sex. She was the youngest grandmaster of all time. In 1991, she, at the age of 15 and 5 months, became a grandmaster, and that beat Bobby Fischer's old record. She wins a bunch of really notable tournaments, like the Hungarian Nationals, and she beats Kasparov, who was like the best chess player of the time, in a one-on-one match. And that's like a landmark game that is celebrated throughout chess. The first time, like the leading male was dethroned by the leading female. And so these three sisters all become amazing, break records, doing all of this in a way that was intended to from the beginning. So remember, the father had this intention in the beginning. And after he made these intentions, people doubted it still. They said, well, maybe it's just genetics. Maybe your genes are better. Maybe something that is there. You have to be smarter than them. So I don't know if this is true. I tried looking it up. I couldn't find it, but I swear I read it in the book back in the day when I read about this kind of stuff, that he said, okay, I'm going to go adopt a baby from Africa, from a different continent, and I'm going to train that baby how to be excellent at chess. But his wife apparently said, no, you're not. That's it. That's the end of it. And so he didn't get a chance to do that. But still, to have the amazing intention of raising three of the finest chess players in the world, even when he didn't know chess that well himself. And that was his intention. So is there something to that? Is there something to what your mindset is and your outcomes? This comes down to the whole entire idea that are prodigies real? Is there such thing as a child prodigy, and are they real, and what causes child prodigy? And there is a lot of different opinions on this. Is it nature versus nurture? You can go down a lot of rabbit holes with like savants and things like this. But most people who are experts at almost anything that you can pick out in the world have 10,000 hours of purposeful practice within that realm. And that's what the Polgar sisters did. They practiced a lot. They learned from the best teachers they could find. They had parents that were helping them go to lessons and had this intention and help push them and help nurture this kind of mindset. And the results speak for themselves. These are the three best female chess players of all time. Well, an uncannily, that's a hard word to say, uncannily? I don't know. An uncannily similar story just happened to three sisters, three girls I know that came from Buffalo, New York, that wrestle for Life University. Any of our listeners from the martial arts communities or from the wrestling communities will for sure know the name McBrides. McBrides are a wrestling family from Buffalo, New York. And their father, Mustafa, is one of the best wrestling coaches in the area in terms of the people that are around him getting good results for wrestling. And you really don't have to look any further than his family. So his family has had amazing results in the world of wrestling, starting with his son, Mohammed. Mohammed was the under-23 representative for the United States for the World Championships. So that tells you what caliber wrestler he is, and is a coach at West Virginia University, which is known for wrestling. But the story of his three daughters goes back a little ways to when they were kids, when they first started training martial arts and jiu-jitsu and wrestling. And the three daughters from oldest to youngest are Jamila, Latifa, and Zaina. So I have been training kids in jiu-jitsu for about 17, 18 years, somewhere in that range. I don't really count, but I've never had kids as disciplined as the three of these girls come to my academy and train where I was. And they came with a lot of discipline, a lot of effort and hard work, but also like an amazing positive attitude where they were the first to arrive and work hard, help with kids' classes, and also the first to help clean up, help set up for tournaments, all kinds of things like this. Just great overall attitudes that you would love to have in all students in martial arts and that you'd like to see martial arts produce in students. And they came with a lot of that already as part of their culture of their family. But at the same time, they began competing in jiu-jitsu and working really hard. They wanted to compete in jiu-jitsu. And in the world of jiu-jitsu, there was a little bit of a problem, as there was in wrestling, for these three girls to compete. And that problem was that these three girls are Muslim and they wanted to wear the hijabs. There was no real rule set that was clear to me at the time in either sport jiu-jitsu or in wrestling. In fact, in wrestling, it was clear that you had to wear a singlet. So at this point, this story is going to fracture into two different stories that are both super interesting. But I want to say something here because it's true. Before I started teaching jiu-jitsu, I didn't know any Muslim people in my life. None. Never met a single one. And I was born and raised Catholic and Christian, but I never really mixed with different religions. And the jiu-jitsu mat allows for that to happen. And we can earn respect for each other in a different kind of way that's available in other walks of life. And as you could probably tell, I'm a curious person. I'm curious about things. So when I have things in front of me, I'm not afraid to ask questions. And so I started being curious about what it was like to be a Muslim and what did that mean? And then I would ask my Jewish friends the same thing. And anyone, any religion, anything that came in front of me that was different, I would openly ask about it. I want to learn about it. It turns out that I learned one really important fact that I didn't realize before I started teaching jiu-jitsu. And that important fact is this. And maybe I'm just ignorant. Maybe I don't know these things and it's obvious to everyone else. But it was not obvious to me until very recently in my life, within the last 10 years or so for sure. And this realization came because of jiu-jitsu and just talking to people. I didn't realize that Christians and Muslims and Jewish people all pray to literally the same God. You know, it's the God of Abraham in the Bible. But all three religions pray to the same God. And I was shocked to learn this. I had no idea. I just knew that, the religions had been fighting for a long, long time. I had no idea that all three religions pray to the same God. The jiu-jitsu mats had us all mixed together with different races and cultures, and we had to respect each other regardless of everything around us. And in my experience, the best way to build trust with people that are new to you is to be vulnerable with each other and help each other solve problems. So the three girls really wanted to compete in jiu-jitsu, but they had a problem is that they wanted to wear the hijabs. I ran a jiu-jitsu tournament and the girls asked if we could change our rule set or clarify the rule set to allow girls to wear a hijab while they're competing. And I couldn't see a reason why the answer is no. Like if this was swimming and somebody wanted to wear a more modest bathing suit or something like that, I wouldn't care. It would actually hurt you maybe or slow you down, something along those lines. So we kind of saw that as the way for jiu-jitsu too. Like you can wear a hijab, no problem, under your gi or no gi. You can wear it with like gi pants. That's up to you. Wearing extra clothing is going to make it harder to make weight, make it more grippy for your opponents. There's no advantage to it. So there's no real reason for the rule not to be a little flexible in that way that I could think of. So we changed it and it was great. And there's never been a problem. We changed our rules at our tournaments and they went super smooth and it was great. And the girls got to compete and show off their talent. They did test themselves. They did play up. They did. I remember Latifa competed in a black belt super tournament when she was a blue belt and they were interviewing her on TV or on like the internet because we were all broadcasting on the internet. She was like a 15-year-old blue belt. And they're like, how long have you been a blue belt for? And she's like, a long time. And they're like, well, why isn't your professors promoting you beyond that? You're obviously hanging with the black belts. She's like, oh, I'm only 15. And she was like beating some black belts. She did really good in the tournament. So there's other big national tournament circuits that go around. Most of them, I think, all changed their rules too to allow the hijabs too. So this was great. And the girls were able to compete in jiu-jitsu. And it was awesome. Man, one of my favorite videos, highlights of all time when we did the tournaments at Riverworks outside on those rinks. It's like this huge, large outdoor tournament. We were flying over with drones, and after every match, everyone was hugging each other. After a tough war, you hug the person next to you. And it was just so great to see like all the different people different sizes and shapes all come together on the mats. And so to help these girls be able to compete in jiu-jitsu, like their dream, that was great, but they really wanted to wrestle. They wanted to wrestle. Their brother was an amazing elite level wrestler, and they've been training to wrestle their whole lives and really wanted to wrestle for college. But NCAA had a rule that you had to wear a singlet. And that was a big conflict for them. They didn't want to, they won't do that. They won't concede to that. And NCAA took it under careful consideration, and they changed the rules and allowed the girls to compete. The girls go to Life University. They are, I don't know what their ranking is in the world, but I know this. Last year, Jamila won national champion, the best number one in the world, got an invitation to the Olympics afterwards. She couldn't go because the Olympics didn't change the rule set yet. You have to wear the singlet. The other two this year, just this last weekend, Latifa and Zaina, they both are now national champions as well. Now, that story right there is just so awesome to me on so many levels. Zaina, the youngest one, she won the national championship and no one scored a single point on her. If you have any idea how incredibly hard that is to do, what I would suggest for you to do, if you want to look into this a little further, look up Latifa McBride's scramble that she does to win the championships. I had trouble following it, and I'm a grappler. It was just an insane display of back and forth action to finish a championship out. Congratulations to the three of you. This is so awesome. Congratulations to your family. Your family set a culture. They showed that there was a path to greatness. For me, like looking at this from like even objectively on the outside, I see there's a reoccurring formula for greatness. And the formula almost always comes down to at least two things. It's having at least one parent in your life that's really awesome, that's really going to be able to help you, that really pushes you the right way. And the second is a really good coach or coaching atmosphere or team around you, pushing you to greatness, or teams. So for example, these girls trained on several teams, like trained with the Canadian Olympic wrestling team. And they come back down with us and train, jiu-jitsu on the weekends. And then they would go away to college and train with their dad. Their dad would do outdoor like exercises for people open in the neighborhood, and then the whole neighborhood would come over and train in the neighborhood. And then he'd do the same thing on our mats on Sunday. And these were hard workouts that would break me off. I stopped even thinking about going to do them because they are really intense. And these girls would break off most of the adults. Intense workouts. This is the kind of dedication and parenting and pushing and coaching that you need. It just so happens that their family was also a coach, so that really helps, and brother. But look at the repeatable formula. The Polgar sisters go out with intention. They go out with good parents. They get good coaches, and they turn into excellent results. Look at the McBrides right here from Buffalo. It's the same thing. It's the same formula. And this formula is attainable. I don't want to say it to everyone because I don't know if that's true, but to way, way, way more people than believe it. Your skills, your intelligence, your talent is not a fixed trait. You can grow it. And when you put limits on what that is, you put limits on yourself, that is not the best kind of education system to have. The kind of education systems we should have around us are the ones that promote this. There's nothing in my life that I can think of. And I've been part of so many cool things. So grateful. I really am. But the most cool thing that exists in my life are the 7 or 8 kids that have come out of the kids program at Buffalo United Martial Arts and are young adults now that are killing it in life and at things that are really hard to do. And even the ones like that are still coming up, you don't have to win a championship to get the lessons here. You can be excellent at something else. You can be excellent at whatever it is you choose to be excellent at. But the thing on top of all of it is not just excellence in a skill set, but these are great people. They're great people. Jamila, Latifa, Zaina, your whole family, to me, they're a shining light of what relationships across boundaries can and should look like. Respect for each other and what you've done should be honored, and the story should be told the right way. And I tried to do my best, so hopefully it came out all right here. This is a tricky subject, right? It borders on a bunch of different topics right here on the edge, and there are things that are some people think are hard to talk about, including me. It's not an easy topic to talk about because of the climate right now in this country. Everything is labels, and we want to be divided into labels, and we should get above our labels. We should stand above our labels as humanity and look at each other and go, all right, we can make this all better around us. Remember the formula here, parents. The formula is a good parent and good coaching. You find those two things and go with it. Go with it. Good coaching could be in science. Good coaching could be in dance. It doesn't have to be in jiu-jitsu. It's really helpful if it's a one-on-one sport, I believe, though. Because one-on-one, you can't hide behind the team and say, oh, look at, jiu-jitsu taught me how to learn. This is a true statement. Jiu-jitsu showed me how to learn, how to overcome so many different things. And you can learn this from chess. You can learn this from anything one-on-one. I want to cite one more example I know of this combination of great parent and great coaching. I can cite a lot of examples, but this is a high-level example of someone that was in my life for a while. His name's Alex Velasquez. He was originally from Florida. Him and his mom, Kara, moved up to Buffalo for a while and trained with us when I was at my old school. And then right around that time, I think we opened our new school and he came and visited a little bit too. And Alex kept finding like better and better coaching. And then he found like really elite coaching in California, which one of the best headquarters known for elite teammates in the world called Art of Jiu-Jitsu. And his mom moved him there to be excellent, to be great at something. And he did. He became great at Jiu-Jitsu. He's a brown belt, but he won purple belt world championship at adult, which is super hard to do. It's like, to give you an idea of like the kind of achievement this is really hard because you're talking about a one-on-one sport to be the very best in your age and weight and skill set in the world, right? So if you're a parent considering what I'm talking about, understand what growth mindset is. Try to get your kids around systems where growth mindset is going to nourish them to try to be great at something because this will teach them how to learn in everything. You try to be great in one thing and it translates to literally all the other things. There's so many things in my life that I apply a jiu-jitsu mindset or a beginner mindset to, and it has really helped me learn or grow. So lots of awesome lessons mixed in here. I just want to finish this segment up with a paradox question that I came up with in my mind. And I asked this to all my friends, my Christian friends, my Muslim friends, my Jewish friends, my atheist friends. I have the same question for everyone. If we're all praying to the same God, if the Christians and the Muslims and the Jewish people are praying to the same God, is that God only hearing one of our prayers and ignoring the other two groups? Or is it more likely that he's worried about how we're treating each other kind of first, besides the words? Are we treating each other the right way? Are we helping each other solve problems? Are we looking out for each other? I put this in front, the reoccurring theme to me in most religions is treat your neighbors with love. So let's start there. The jiu-jitsu community proves that we can mix all different kinds of cultures together and still have a high trust, strong community. We can take this and make it much bigger, and we should consider that and consider what that means because it's possible. The people who are telling you it's not possible are wrong. So one more congratulations to the McBride family. What an amazing accomplishment for not just Buffalo or not just yourselves, but for the idea that greatness can be achieved through intention and hard work and love and caring and coaching and going on a quest, setting on that quest as your adventure and going to see if it can be done is the path to greatness. We're seeing this now as a repeatable pattern. So let's all learn from this. There is a lot of lessons to extract here. Let's all learn from this. And congratulations again, guys. All right, next up, we're going to do a little sports. Buffalo sports, that is. And we're going to zoom out to the Buffalo Sabres. They had a 4-3 win over the Vegas Golden Knights on March 15th. That was their last win. I think this was my favorite win of theirs of the season. They won a game they were losing 4-3. I'm sorry, they were losing, I believe, 3-2. And with just 14 seconds left, Dahlin scores. He ties it. And then in overtime, we win the shootout. But that was a come behind, classic comeback win. If the Sabres are going to turn it around, this is the kind of wins we need to see them have. And it looks like the general manager, Kevyn Adams, has decided to change his philosophy. And yes, a lot of people are calling for his job, but I still think it's interesting that he's changing his philosophy and he's getting more two-way players on the team, players that are hard to play against and also score goals. So this has been a change in philosophy. It's way too early to tell where that's going to lead to, but seeing a win like this is an optimistic thing to see. These are the kinds of wins that good teams have, are come behind, buzzer beater wins, and then overtime when the pressure is on. Remember, under the lights is different. All right, let's switch over to the Buffalo Bills now. The Buffalo Bills had some big moves. We talked about Joey Bosa last week. We traded Kaiir Elam. That was probably one of the worst picks that Brandon Beane has made so far, but he got something for it. And remember, he got Christian Benford in a later round to turn out to be elite and amazing. So it's okay to hit on one and miss on the other. That's kind of what you expect, actually. But Kaiir is gone to the Dallas Cowboys in exchange for a 5th-round pick. That's great. Or there's some kind of weird pick exchange there. We re-signed a bunch of players. Josh Allen got his contract extension. We talked about all this. Brandon Beane also signed Larry Ogunjobi and Michael Hoyt. Both of them are defensive linemen, and both of them ended up failing a drug test, which is not really a good start. Both of these players are going to be suspended for the first 6 games of the season for this infraction. There's one other move to be noteworthy of, and that is Mack Hollins. Mack Hollins, he was, I thought he was the best wide receiver 5 this team has ever had. So this team has receivers that usually rank 1 through 5. This was the best 5th receiver we ever had. Amazing on special teams and made some really key, important downfield catches in both the regular season and playoffs and brought a good attitude to the team. I was really hoping they'd re-sign him here in Buffalo, but he was offered a pretty penny. So good for him. Up to $10 million contract for a 2-year contract to go to New England Patriots, which is our enemy. Obviously, that is a little bit extra sad. But he also had, if you guys are not familiar, he had a Instagram page that helped kids and helped people that didn't know how to do household things like change filters or fix water leaks and just do random stuff like this. That was a really cool Instagram page. Very cool of him doing that. And now he walks off barefoot to New England. Hope he doesn't step on any glass and regret that move. Our next segment here is going to be, let's start a business together. And we kind of dipped into this last week, but we're going to cover it for a couple more minutes this week. So imagine that we were going to start a business together and there's 50 of us. And we all put in $10,000. So now we got this pool of money and we have to decide what to do with the money. There are ways to do this that are so much better than the existing ways that very, very few people know about. It's a whole new branch of science, and it's called collective intelligence. And you can talk to the whole group as if that group was one magic being, basically. Picture a new brain floating above that group that forms when all the individual nodes come together. And I want to give you an example of how it could work. So this is the simplest way I like to explain it, especially people from Buffalo. If I asked 1 million people, let's say this podcast blew up and there was 1 million listeners, and I asked 1 million listeners, hey, what do you guys want to do with the Skyway? How would the whole group answer this? I could present everyone with multiple choice questions, but those questions would come from me or from somewhere, not from you. How do we get the group to have a voice and not just a choice? That's what collective intelligence does. And a good collective intelligence group is creative. So it's going to extract your creativity and your wisdom of the whole group and come to answers. So if we ask the whole group what to do with the Skyway, it would look like this. We break up into smaller groups. In those groups, the numbers could be anywhere from like 7 to 12 people. So let's say there's 12 of us. Each person in the group populates their own answer, and we're anonymous. It's really important that we don't have labels when solving problems in groups. So each person is just like a shadow person, and you're just your idea. So let's say your answer is tear down the Skyway. And let's say my answer is Rip Down the Skyway. Well, those answers are very, very similar. So much so that anybody in the group of 12 that we broke up into now, we're in these smaller groups, if half the group thinks those answers are too similar, they get merged into one answer. And that answer has no more value. It's just one solid answer. Now, we take the remaining answers, which is like 8, and then we play basically a game to decide which answers are our favorite. We can use coins, like an economy, where we put positive coins on the ideas we like and negative coins on the ideas we don't like. We can also use a clear hockey puck and a digital magnet and push and pull. But our small group of 12 comes up with one answer, or our top 3 answers, or whatever we decide is the best parameters. And those answers go on to the next round and we follow them. And then we do that again and again until the whole group comes up with one creative and interesting answer they like. We could use a system like this to run a business. So let's say we started a wellness center, and inside the wellness center is all foods and products that we test to a higher level than all of the other foods tested in the market. And we also avoid, as much as we can, all Wall Street products, at least to start. Maybe some Wall Street businesses can earn our trust, but to start, our products that we're going to sell to everyone are going to avoid what seem to be hurting us, which is Wall Street products owned and controlled by the big banks. So let's pretend we create a wellness online store that you can buy products that we put our own seals on it. So this is foods and spices and deodorants and shampoos and cosmetics and cleaning supplies, things that are in our everyday life that are possibly making us sick, clothing, even music. The vibration of music matter. There are studies that show frequency of music affects people either positively or negatively. So all of these things we could be taking into account in our new store, and we can make decisions using collective intelligence to decide how we run business and what products we carry. So we could ask the whole group, hey, what kind of products should we carry? We get an answer from the crowd. Carry whole milk, carry pasture-raised beef, carry cleaning supplies that don't have chemicals in it, or suntan lotion that doesn't have carcinogens in it, or things like this. The one thing I want to keep putting in people's minds here is there are different ways to run systems that are decentralized, and we don't need corruptible leaders to run them. There's a brand new podcast we'll be coming up with in a few weeks, but I wanted to kind of tease it. It's going to dive into this whole new realm of science called collective intelligence. I just want to tease a little bit in case anyone's interested on this podcast. Because in the end, we're finding that collective intelligence is best built on top of high trust communities. And so we're going to need a high trust community here in Buffalo to test it. That's the plan. So once that's ready, we'll let everyone know. But we'll also let you know about the podcast will be coming up here in a few weeks. Okay, one little small segment here is, last week I covered fossils. I didn't know anything about fossils in Western New York. Turns out there's a whole bunch of interesting things. And I missed an event last week. I didn't know that this was going on at the fairgrounds. There's Plantasia, which is all about plants, and then a fossil and gem show. So I poked my head into the fossil and gem show towards the end of the day. I had a great time. Turns out I ran into some people that actually heard the fossil segment on the last segment, and we started talking about it. One of them happened to run the Penn-Dixie site, the place where people find tons of fossils. It's basically like a quarry, and they dig through shale and take chunks of layers of years out with an excavator and let people just go through it and find fossils. So there's a big event coming up with them the first weekend in June. You have to sign up for the event online, and we'll promote it in the future here in a bit. But that event is for everyone. People come from all over the country to go to this, and they excavate new ground and dump it out and let people go through it and find tons of fossils from the Devonian area like we discussed last time. But this was really cool. I got to meet a bunch of awesome new people, and I'm excited. I'm going to go on my first dig, they call it, and I'm going to look for some fossils. I am making it a goal this year to find at least one fossil on my own. So that is my goal this year. I'm going to go out and try to find a fossil. I also learned about gems and minerals and all kinds of stuff. There's these minerals that glow in the dark using a UV light, and they're super cool. And some of them are found around here. So you can go out at night and look in some of these places like creeks and look for different kinds of minerals and gems and rocks and things like this. But they're specifically the ones that glow under UV light. And I ended up buying 2 little ones at this show. They're really cool. One's called calcite, which can be found around here. And the other is called feldspar, which the piece that I got is from Nambia, but it glows like fluorescent yellow under a UV light. Super cool. I never knew any of this existed, and I'm endlessly curious. So now I'm going to go out and find some rocks and gems and some fossils this summer. So that's really cool. Thanks a lot for coming up and talking. And it was a pleasure meeting everyone at the show. Next year, I'll try to do a better job of promoting the main event because I didn't even realize it was going on. All right, for our last segment here, we're going to be looking for a missing bird. And that bird's name is Blueberry. It's a bright violet Indian ringneck parakeet. So it's like kind of like a big looking bright blue parrot. And it flew out of a store called Put a Plant on It on Elmwood Avenue in Buffalo. And it has been seen, but has not been captured yet, as far as I know, at the recording of this podcast. There's a $1,000 reward for Blueberry's safe return. And if you've seen Blueberry or have any information, please contact Put a Plant on It at 716-555-1234 or visit their Facebook page, especially if you want to see what Blueberry looks like. All right, the local entrepreneur business of the week we want to shout out this week is called Roseland's Atlas Restaurant. It is located at 492 Rhode Island near the Five Points area in Buffalo. It's scratch-made Italian food with an international twist. And they use simple, common ingredients that you can be seen across the world. Yet, how does each culture kind of mix them together? That's kind of what they go for there. Chef and co-owner Mike DeGanis is spearheading that adventure. The building's super cool looking. There's awesome pictures of it online. It's one of those like big Victorian looking places. I asked Chef Mike if I was to try one thing there and break my diet, what would it be? And he suggested the Albania pepper dip called Vergez. It's like bell peppers, feta, yogurt. Also, he said their pastas are amazing. I haven't had pasta in 5 years, so it sounded amazing. All the pastas are made in-house. Right now, I would check the website for the Roseland's Atlas Restaurant. It's open Thursday through Monday. To sit down, it's 4 o'clock to close right now, but they're open for lunches various times. You really got to check the website at roselandatlas.com. All this talk about pepper dip and scratch-made homemade Italian pastas has got me hungry. So I'm going to wrap up this podcast today with a bunch of fun stuff there is to do this week in Buffalo, New York. First up, at the Hamburg Fairgrounds, March 20th through 23rd, is Mother Time Marketplace Sale. It's Western New York's largest and longest-running family consignment event. On the 21st through the 23rd, there's Springtime in the Country Arts and Crafts Fair with almost 300 vendors, also at the Hamburg Fairgrounds. And then the Sportsman's Tavern on March 21st has an REM tribute. It's also their 10th anniversary show, and that's at 8 o'clock. On March 22nd, Eric Carlin's Half Dead History of the Dead is at 8 o'clock. For Santora's on Transit Road, it's a pizza pub and grill. On Friday, March 21st is Flipside. They're like one of my favorite beer tent bands in Buffalo. You get to hear them during the summertime and, the fairs and the carnivals and things like that. Well, they're going to be rocking out at 8:30 at Santora's, and that's going to be Friday, March 21st. Ironworks, March 18th, has Spafford at 8 o'clock. They're a really good jam band that came to Buffalo last October. On March 22nd is Yam Yam with Savo Highway as well. Riverworks has Battle of the Decade Silent Disco March 21st. And on the 22nd is Roller Derby from 7 to 9 o'clock. That should be a good time. At Shays, March 21st and 22nd, the Buffalo Philharmonic Orchestra is rocking out the Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets in concert. The Buffalo Museum of Science on March 22nd has Dino Fest 2025. The Kaz, March 21st, has Scarlet Begonias, a tribute to the Grateful Dead. Klein Hands on the 21st has the Strictly Hip. That's their 30th anniversary concert at 8 o'clock. And the KeyBank Center has the Bandits versus the Desert Dogs on March 21st. And on the 22nd, it's Mary J. Blige For My Fans Tour at 7 o'clock. Friday, March 21st, is the grand opening for Buffalo Comedy Sports. So this is a really cool event. This is improv comedy. So like, whose line is it anyway? But they play it like sports where there's teams and they compete against each other to see who's funnier. So this is super funny. There's a bunch of really talented people that are part of this. Highly recommend checking this out. If not this weekend, at some point in the future, they're putting a lot of effort and time. And they created this new community called Buffalo Comedy Sports and can be found at buffalocomedycollective.com online. First Look Theater Company presents Deconstruction, a new play by Adam Hahn, and that starts March 21st through April 6th. Check that out. The Red Clay Strays are playing Wednesday, March 19th at 8 o'clock at Fallsview Casino Resort up in Niagara Falls. And for all the other events, and there's so many events, we recommend going to stepoutbuffalo.com and looking at all your options. There's just so many cool things going on in Buffalo. It's great to see it all. We try to mention some highlights every week on here. If you have an upcoming event that you'd like shouted out in the podcast, please message us online on our social media pages. And we encourage everyone to go back and check out older episodes of this podcast, as we have a growing theme that goes from episode to episode that talks about things like growth mindset, things like better communities, better group problem solving, entrepreneurship, better communities, and highlights of different businesses and upcoming events that we can all celebrate for each other right here in Buffalo. All right, until next time, Buffalo, let's keep in mind something. If the world's going to change for the better, it has to start someplace. And what better place than right here, right in Buffalo, New York? Why can't it happen right here? Why can't we show the world that there's a better way to do things? And that starts with helping each other solve problems. And with that, I'll leave you with a little clip about the growth mindset and the difference between a growth mindset and a fixed mindset.
Researcher and professor Carol Dweck uses the term mindset to describe the way people think about ability and talent. Dweck delineates between two different mindsets that exist on a continuum. The first is the fixed mindset, which suggests that your abilities are innate and unchangeable. The second is a growth mindset, which views it as something you can improve through practice. In a fixed mindset, you view failure as permanent, but with a growth mindset, you see failure as a chance to learn and even pivot. Those with a fixed mindset are more likely to view critical feedback as a personal attack, while those with a growth mindset will see it as a chance to improve, where they can develop new systems. With a fixed mindset, you're more likely to choose easier tasks and put in minimal effort. After all, if talent is fixed, why bother improving? Why even try? But with a growth mindset, you're more likely to embrace challenging tasks and work hard to improve. Those with a fixed mindset are likely to give up when they face an obstacle. Meanwhile, those with a growth mindset will view obstacles as a chance to experiment and solve problems. In a fixed mindset, the focus is on measurable accomplishments. But with a growth mindset, the focus is more on a journey of continual improvement. With a fixed mindset, you're less likely to take creative risks. But with a growth mindset, creative risks are simply a way to innovate and improve. Ultimately, your mindset influences everything from creative risk-taking to how you view feedback to whether or not you finish difficult tasks. And in the end, it's one of the greatest factors in determining whether or not you grow and improve in your abilities.